Hi, welcome to my garden, except we're on a field trip. We're in Austin, Texas at Vigilante, which is an absolutely marvelous restaurant. And I will put all the details in the comments below. Vigilante is a restaurant that's based on the idea of board games and gaming and things you put in front of you that you learn from. And Preston has invited us into his wizard's room. He also has a Middle Earth room, which is done up and you just expect Gandalf to walk in anytime. And those are hidden in the wall. And then out in the rest of the restaurant are tables where you can play board games. And he has a whole wall that's like a library of board games. He has every board game in the world. So for those who don't like to go to places and have people buried in their little cell phones, this is a great place to come. Plus, he makes the best flavored sake. And he is reopening soon. He was closed because of the pandemic, as we all were. And so we're here now. And below me, well, I think it'll be below me, is Andrea from Lilac Lantern, which many of the people who view my channel will know. And beside me is lovely Hillary. And what Hillary is going to do is explain why we're all here today. We're all here today because last February, I woke up one morning and I was told that there used to be a time when crystals were used like cards and they were cast and used to read. And I went, well, that's kind of funky. And I actually looked it up, and about the time Ouija boards were created, there was a crystal board created, but it fell to the side because it required really doing something and not just dragging a little planchette around the board. So slowly but surely, my guides brought me the information for what you see spread in front of Hillary, lovely Hillary here. Yes, she's going to do her Vanna White. Yeah. And it is a garden. And it is a garden full of ways to contemplate and ways to learn. And some of the thoughts I'd like you to think about thinking about this garden is what we plant in the soil of contemplation, we reap in the harvest of action. And that's a quote from Meister Eckhart from 1260 to 1326. And the other inspirational message I got was to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. And that's from Audrey Hepburn, who is not a middle era mystic. She lived until 1993. Was a wonderful actress. Not all of our thoughts are true. And sometimes it's hard to ground ourselves to something. And that's why I think people like it when I talk about stones. They say, I can hold on to that. And it's sort of like why people like runes. And so these stones read someone like runes. If you can put the stones out, Hillary, that we're going to show, these are the stones that come with it to read. That's clarity. That's blue sunlight. That's fuchsite, which is your body. There's spirit, which is amethyst. There's mind, which is orange or yellow calcite. And then there's pyrite, which is grounding or values. And those are the 5 elements that I was told to put on this board. And we're going to learn how to read those. Now, the way you read the board is a little different than the tarot because there's no like, yes, no questions. There's the situation. Like people come to me, should I buy this house? Will this house be the right house for me? Blah, blah, blah. Well, in the runic tradition, you'd never go to a rune reader and say, should I buy this house? You'd go to the rune reader and say, the situation is a house. And then you lay out those 5 elements of your life and you look at how they fit on the board. And we're going to do that for a little bit just to give you an idea of how the game works. Understand?
Yes. I love it.
Makes sense? Okay. So the first way we're going to read is to have Hillary put all of her stones in her little bag, which comes with the thing, and just pull one out. And that's what we call a crux. You draw one stone from the bag, cast it in the garden. Where did he hit? Oh, it's
present.
Okay, body in the present, which means that the rest of this reading will be where you physically are or where your body physically is. And then she's going to cast the other 4 stones. Okay, that's fine. Okay, and where'd you get?
Okay, so reading from left to right. Amethyst in root and security. We've got, these are kind of even. The pirate is here in the future. This little guy is here in the fire, and then the orange calcite is in false.
Okay, so her mind is in false, which means that maybe if you're reading somebody and that showed up, you'd go, you think you have an ache or a pain, but that's not really what the problem is. There's not really something in your body that's causing that pain. That pain's coming from outside. And then what you see is she's got, where's your amethyst?
Root.
Okay. Your spirit is dealing with some sort of security problem, sort of root-based security problem. And then what's in fire?
This is going to be the sodalite.
Okay, the clarity comes from looking deep inside yourself, because fire means the south. If you do this directionally, it also means ancestral things. If you in the shaman tradition, the south is where the ancestors come from. So it's something right now we've got your mind. It's kind of in your mind. It's not really in your body. Your spirit's feeling insecure. The clarity is going to come from understanding the background. Now, what's the last one?
Pyrite is in the future.
Pyrite. Okay. Pyrite's in the future. That's your values. That's your grounding. So you need to start grounding more in the future and quit worrying about the past so much.
Okay.
Understand? Does that make kind of some sort of sense?
It does.
And that's called a Crux reading. And then read the collective ideas. That's when you cast all the stones into the garden at once. And Sean, do you have a question? We have a fourth person here who's in the background.
Really just more based around school.
Oh, yeah. Hillary's finishing her last semester, so school's
Lovely.
How do you interpret it?
So again, left to right. So we've got the orange calcite.
That's your mind.
The calcite and amethyst are both in water. So mind and spirit, both in water. Pyrite, once again, landed in my future. Classic.
Everything you're ever going to own's in the future.
Yeah. We've got the sodalite in the present, and then we've got the fuchsite so body in air.
Okay. So your body's a little disconnected from your brain right now. Okay. Your brain being in the west, being in the water. Water is the west, and Western energy is things that are moving away. So your mind is in the future. It's not here right now. It's not grounded, and your body and your clarity are kind of next to each other. So you need to physically get in touch with your body and do the physical things you need to do. And then the pyrite being the future is, man, you are so far thinking into, I want to be done with this. Anybody who's ever finished school, and I don't care whether it was kindergarten. I remember my youngest at the end of kindergarten was, I want to be out of here. And I'm like, you have no idea where you're going. So does that make sense for you as far as the reading? Because what it says, the way you could work with that is to think about things that are in the future. You really can't do all that much about. But you can contemplate the fact that you're putting that mental energy into the future, and maybe need to be investing it now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The opposite of me.
You don't have much choice. Andrea's in a tough place. She's in Canada, where she didn't. When do you leave your house again? June 2nd?
We're still in lockdown till at least the first week of June.
Yeah, which has got to be incredibly frustrating. Okay, the third way to read. Sean, do you have a question this time? This is one and done. You just
Can I just say something as for people watching? The piece of cloth you have on the table has words on it and stuff. Like I can't see it right now. I can just see the pattern. So where you're throwing the crystals lands on certain words or areas, right? That's
right, and that's all explained in the rules. We talk about what the stones come from, and then you get a little cheat sheet that says mind is in this, or just cast one and we'll just read what the cheat sheet says.
Yeah.
What do
each color crystal represents something, and the crystals you have on the corners:
fire, air, water, earth. And they're the cornerstones. They contain the energy that's on the the
I
satin.
love that. They're the foundation of the reading, or the cornerstones. I love it.
So since my mind seems to be so disconnected from my body, this is very true. We're going to focus on that.
Okay. Okay.
Wow. And I pulled the amethyst
And it's on
in past.
in the past, in the face it says fast, but it's going into fire.
Mm-hmm.
So read on your cheat sheet when the amethyst shows up in the past, what it means.
Okay. So it means, have you missed how transformation has already happened? And then kind of peeking into fire, really more just thoughts from past clouding or enlightening ideas.
Okay, so what was the first definition, dear?
Have I missed how transformation has already happened?
Yeah, in other words, she's already passed what she's worrying about.
Oh.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
It's good information to have.
And now, then the last thing you can do with this, and really on the one and done, meditate on how it ends. Meditation makes you become familiar with the energy you've created, what the universe has handed you and said, this is where your energy is. And this is where it's going. And this is what you need to look at. Okay. So that's the one and done. And what the one and done, when I first designed the board, Marvelous Alma, who I will have on my show one day, who's my designer who comes up with makes it all pretty. I just think of this stuff. Trust me. If you'd look at this, if I designed it, you'd go, huh? It does have my handwriting on it. So when y'all get them and you go, who scrawled this stuff? This is not on Microsoft. No, it's not. It's my words. But when I first got the first scarf, the first garden from Alma, I knew what the stones were, and I would go by and I'd just pull one blind out of the bag and throw it. And I would take notes on what I thought it meant. And then I'd go back at the end of the day and see how closely it fit. That's what proved to me that the board worked. In case you think, she just threw this together and came up with nothing.
Yeah.
I channeled these things
Yeah.
in. And the other thing is the last reading is you do you. Meditate on how it lands. Oh, if you are moved to view this garden from your own personal vision, there's a space on here called Go For It. There really is. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to go for it. So if you have a small crystal that's very dear to you, you can cast it in the garden and see what it tells you.
Oh.
How you're connected to it. You can bring your own stones in. I gave you a set because I knew if I didn't send out a set of stones, people would be standing there for 3 years going, what? Planting seeds in this garden is planting thoughts in your mind. Nourish the good ones and pull out the bad ones. It's a place for us to weed.
Oh, beautiful.
And then there's 2 last quotes on this, and then we'll just kind of chit-chat a little bit. The day came when the risk to remain a bud was more painful than what it took to blossom.
Mm.
And we get to those days. And then the last one is, and suddenly, it's time to start something new. Trust the magic of the new beginnings. And that's Meister Eckhart. That's the mystic from the Middle Ages. His other one that he said is, if the soul wants something, it puts the image out in front of it and steps into it. So this is a place where you can put those images of yourself, the positive ones up front. The other thing is, there's at the beginning, I say, not all thoughts are true. And one of the things you will learn from dealing with the garden is you'll look at a stone and you go, I shouldn't feel that way if I really look at the whole situation, not just some tiny little yesy no-y part. So, and the other thing is, as I've been moving forward, I figured out, Andrea, you can tell time with this, but I don't have all the rules written for that. But you can image a big clock, or you can image the 12 months of the year and spin out into it, see time.
Nancy Jean.
I know. Oh, mind blown. I mean, and I have to do these things slowly because when I channel too much too quickly, I make myself sick. I mean, I lose my sense of balance, and that's so weird.
It's overloading you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Now, any questions at all?
Well, when can I get one, and where can I get one?
Okay. When can you get one? Where you're going to get one soon because we have 20 prototypes that we're mailing out to you and some other readers and a couple of my clients. And Hillary got one. She's been one of my clients that are going to play with it and come back and give me feedback. But within 2 weeks, we're going to have it posted on crystaldirections.com, my website, with some appropriate pictures so you can actually see all the pretty writing on there. The spaces that are on the grid are the chakras: root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus. And root chakra means security. Sacral chakra means creativity. Solar plexus means power. Heart means love. Throat means truth. Third eye means insight. Crown means enlightenment. And then there's a tree of life, which makes the end of that ring. And that's harmony. That's pulling all those elements together. Then you have the future, the present, path forward, false, restate. And that's an interesting one because I was sort of blowing it off one day and I just kind of, I'm going to roll. And it went, no, restate that. Think about what you're saying. Past, go for it, true. And then air, fire, earth, and water are the middle 4 pieces in that. You can kind of see that it looks like a little pie. And air is the north or thoughts. South is ancestors. Fire is south and ancestors. Earth is east and what's approaching you, like the sun's coming up, okay? And west is like water and what's leaving you. That pretty much has all the elements of movement that we kind of read about in our world. Don't you think, Andrea?
I'm actually just speechless. It's so intricate and lovely and connected. Like, I'm so excited that you got this message to make this.
Well, we all get messages different ways. And I was just told that everybody kept saying, I want to work with the rocks. And they just kept pushing me. I love your grids, but I'd like to work with the rocks myself. Yeah. And I'd say to people, just work with them. But apparently that was beyond. And I realized I just needed a little guidance. I really like it because I think in this new time, it's positive, it's forward looking, and it makes us responsible for our actions.
I love it. It's perfect.
Well, what do you think about it, Hillary?
It's fantastic. It's such a good way to just like pause and reflect, like you said, meditate. I think like using it in the morning and then kind of carrying that thought with you throughout the day and then having that reset moment at the end of the day to see like where your thoughts and where your spirit have been is just such a good way to like reground and help center yourself for like and a more active and mindful living.
Cool. You all said everything I wanted to say, but I didn't want to brag.
It's perfect. And I love that it's not sort of a yes, no. It makes you think about the question or situation and really interpret the answer, because not everything is so simple as yes, no. There's different layers and
it's different paradigms. I love the cards and I love oracle cards, but it's a different paradigm of action and interaction. And I really think it's was brought in because it needs to be here for the new age. Mm-hmm. By the way, the grounding stones are quartz, serpentine, agate, and jasper. Angelite. I'll get it right one of these days.
So when they get this, they get the grounding stones and these other stones.
They get 9 crystals with it, and we're going to put dots on the bottom of the grounding stones because they are, except for the serpentine, which looks like a green stone. The rest of them kind of look alike, and even I get them confused. So we're going to mark them. And by the way, somebody saw it and said, "I want to wear that scarf."
Well, I was going to ask, can I also wear it?
Yeah, you can wear it. It's like, oh, sure, I'll read your thing and whip it off. Automatic. And the object with this is for people to make it their personal space. Even the kind of satin that we used and the design we used is for each person to make it their own. Kind of like, people, not to make the mundane, but D&D people, they have their dice. These are your stones. And the more you work with them, the more your personal power and your empathy and your understanding will come into it.
And it's also very portable. I mean, that fits in your purse or your backpack or wherever.
What the whole thing looks like all put together. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not any bigger than that. And that the scarf's in there too, because the scarf's very. So that's why I invited you to the heart of Texas. This is Andre's big journey into the heart of Texas.
My first time to the heart of Texas, and I'm so excited.
And we really want to thank everyone who's come to join us and see this show and understand what we're working on. I'm sure by the time you see this tape, a couple of other readers will have been on shows with them. I'm not ready to do live shows. Somebody said, oh, this is perfect to do a live with. I get confused enough running the buttons. Andrea will tell you, when we do side by side, she's like, are we on? Are you work? I mean, guys, I'm 72. Give it. As we make improvements, you will be kept informed. I had somebody already ask me who had heard about it. Well, what about stones that have to do with my personal zodiac sign? We've got ideas about all those things, but I think if you just get the concept and 5 stones down and the grounding stones, that we can start from there. We've got, what I told somebody yesterday? I feel like A.E. Waite going around with this deck saying, really, you can lay these cards out. I promise. No, the images look a little scary, but they're not bad.
It's wonderful, Nancy Jean. It's perfect. And I cannot wait to get one. I'm so excited to use it. It's going to be amazing.
Yours is going out in the mail tomorrow, girl.
Awesome.
Okay. Anyway, we're going to say goodbye to our audience, and hopefully this has sparked an interest. Make comments in the comments section and let me know what I didn't clarify or what wasn't clear to you, because I've been looking at this sucker for 2 months. Mm-hmm. So, it's like when you're too close to something. I'll try to answer your questions, and I'll put a big notice on my channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, the first place you're going to find out where you can get these is on my channel. And I will look forward to hearing from you. And thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Hillary, for making this such an easy deal to do. And I appreciate it. And I'll talk at you later. Bye-bye.